I had highlighted on the topic that we're to discuss right now with my child advocates about the issue of climate change following the 29th of August Climate Week. So let me give them a chance to introduce themselves. Let me start with you.
Hello, Omar. My name is Brian King. I am a child rights advocate as well as a child representative.
Thank you so much, Brian. Let's move on to Sheila. Yes.
Hello, I'm Sheila Luangu. I'm a child advocate. I'm also a trained journalist at Untitled News and also a student.
Asante sana Sheila. Leo umetuvalia uniform.
Kabisa.
Asante sana, asante sana. Let's move on to a very new face at Untitled News Insight. Yes.
Hello, Omar. My name is Eric Namai, a child participant writer and a child advocate also.
At Mtoto News, ndio. Asanteni sana. So today we are talking about climate change following the 29th of August Climate Week. So let me start with you, Namai. Namai, according to you as a child and as a child advocate, what does climate change mean to you?
Climate change?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the exact definition of climate change, but it's it's just the change of climatic conditions of a place.
So climate change basically is change of climate. So basi let's move on to Sheila. Sheila,
yes.
As a student, uliachana na geography?
Kitambo.
Asante sana. Which means you will fail this question. What is climate change?
I guess it's just seasonal changes of weather at a particular time or period or something to do with work. If I can remember my geography very well. If I can remember, not that one.
Asante sana Sheila. Now Brian, najua umekuwa ukifikiria unasema sasa climate change. Ndio jibu swali yenu. Now Brian, tell us what is the climate week?
The climate week is basically a week where we try and celebrate the measures we have been taking to fight and combat climate change in general. Yeah.
Asante sana Brian. Now Brian, there's this issue that has been going around. People don't usually take climate change seriously actually. So what might be the likely cause of people not taking climate change seriously, or people don't seem to care much about climate change?
Well, it is a tendency in humans to not care about the future, right?
Yeah.
And what we don't realize actually is that climate change is no longer a problem for the future, because that was something the people in the past used to say. Climate change is now an issue that is facing us. So people think that climate change is an issue that is going to face them 70, 100 years later. They don't care about that, right? What they don't realize is that it's here. Actually, we can feel the effects of climate change already. The changing weather patterns, droughts, floods. All those are issues that are actually affecting us. I mean, someone doesn't realize that the increase in food prices is actually caused by climate change. Yeah. So I think the reason is we don't realize the effects are already here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian, for those inputs. Let me move on to Sheila. Sheila,
yes.
Why don't people take climate change seriously? Is it because they drive luxurious cars, so they don't care about maybe climate change because they're not farmers?
It's not like that, because not everyone drives, right? It's just an assumption. You see, like when it's very rare. Like I think you've noted this year in January it rained. Yeah, it's just an assumption of in January there is always there is dry season like for a moment, and then February will receive short rains and stuff. So it's just assumption that they know the calendar of the weather. Let me say weather or climate change. So that's why they don't care about it. They know April it will rain, September it won't, December it will, Jan it won't, like that assumption of them knowing that they think they know the climate calendar or something. So maybe that is the reason. Okay,
asante sana Sheila. Now Namai, people have been saying now kuna climate change and all that. So what are some of these effects of climate change that tumepatana nazo, maybe mostly in our country here in Kenya?
Well, for a country, I can speak about drought. There's drought, and then there is floods. There's a thing about rapid hurricanes. Like there's literally everything that's happening around the world that's called by it disrupts the weather patterns seriously. Yeah.
Asante sana Namai. Let's come to Brian. Brian, now what causes climate change? I mean, is it because that people are not caring, or is it because we don't farm, so we don't water our plants, we don't plant trees? What causes climate change?
Climate change is a number of causes actually, but the main one I believe is the release of dangerous toxins into the air, right? I mean, we have vehicles, we have factories, we even have basic burning of plastics at home. These gases are
People
released.
are burning plastics in their homes.
Yes, and you know, Omar, it's actually not that funny because I mean, a simple thing like a broken jug, you just toss it in the fire and decide to burn it off. Or during community cleanups, you decide to burn the garbage, not caring what is in that garbage. Sometimes you burn plastics, right, which release carbon monoxide, which goes and damages the ozone layer, which releases dangerous radiation, which in turn melts the polar ice, and there is a butterfly effect in all that, leading to climate change.
These are some of those moments where Brian is smart.
My moments are always, by the way. But I mean, causes of climate change go from the personal level at the family to the community to the country, now to the international level. But I have to point out that Africa is one of the most climate-friendly countries in the world, continents in the world. But we are still facing these challenges, Omar, you know, the effects of climate change. And they're actually going to affect us most because Africa is considered one of the least developed continents as well. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if there's a food shortage, guess who is going to suffer?
We are the ones who
exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm saying we need to start doing those small things and we'll get there.
Tutafika. Anyway, let's come to Sheila. Sheila,
yes.
Before we take a short break hapa kwa Mtoto News Insights. Now, what are some of these effects, not causes, effects of climate change? There's Metupata hapa Africa, and the way people usually say it's a jungle. So basically we have a lot of trees and all that. So what are some of these effects?
Effects is a shortage of food, because when the climate changes and like we experience a dry spell for a long time, we'll have like short rains that will not enable farmers to plant their crops on time, and that will make us like have food shortage, and having food shortage, we're lacking food. And people will die out of hunger, you see. Now something else, it's people like focusing on cash crop. Now that it's a dry season, tea, it can only take this amount of rainfall. Now let's focus on cash crop and leave it. Like it's just depends on one another. If this lacks, the other one, you see. Yeah, so those are some of the things.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for those inputs. Enyewe ni ukweli. Climate change inatusumbua sana, but we are taking a short break here at Mtoto News Insights, but we are coming back with more. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Mtoto News Insights. We're continuing the discussion on climate change with our child advocates. So we are with you, Namai. Tuko na wewe, si ndio?
Yes.
Fantastic. Namai, tuendelee. What are some of the causes of climate change?
Thank you, Omar. The causes of climate change. Well, as Brian said, there's the thing about fossil fuels, burning a lot of plastic. They emit carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which, the whole process, it's a big process, but then it causes the effect of trapping heat in the planet, like on Earth, seriously. And then emission of radiations from the sun that are really toxic to human beings. We also have, the effects of it. We're going to have the heat wave, like the ones that are mostly in India.
What about in Kwani Kenya tuko na cold waves? Miss just squeezing nikai wakangi, by the way.
Well, I've never heard of, maybe it's me, but I've never heard of heat wave in Kenya. Mostly the cases are in Asia. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Namai. Let's come to Brian. Brian, now you as child advocates, child advocates, represent vizuri tukianza. As child advocates, what are you doing to stop climate change?
As child advocates, I don't want to speak in general. I want to speak from my perspective.
Yes, as you, as a child advocate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm teaching children, the young children, on the importance of the small things we do, the importance of avoiding the impacts of climate change, right? We're talking about just simple things like turning off the light bulb when you're going out, using water wisely, taking care of simple things like plastic so that we don't have to, produce more. And I'm also running a campaign called the 200 million trees. It was actually started, it was a campaign that was started in the CSO forum, the 20th. And we agreed as African children, we want to plant 200 million trees as a startup. to try and combat the impacts of climate change, right? The reason we came up to 200 million trees is because we have about 400 million children in Africa. So we decided if just half of us decided to plant a tree each, it would help in trying and combat these issues. Like here in Kenya, I'll soon be launching the 2 million trees campaign, because I want to start small, of course, because of funds and all. So yeah, these are just few of the things I'm doing to try and combat climate change. Yeah.
Asante sana, Brian. Let's come to Sheila. Sheila,
Yes.
what are some of the things that you as a child advocate have been doing to combat climate change?
Okay, just to add on what Brian has said, at least to encourage planting of trees. Most schools in Nairobi don't have like trees, and at least to keep, you see, like as an environmental prefect, I'll ensure that the environment, you see, like disposing of this plastic and plastic on, like, you know, like the agriculture students are doing. We only focus on agriculture students, not only to start a club in our school that will be speaking on climate change, and not only in our school, even those who are watching us, you can start a club on the importance of at least knowing what is happening, to like knowing the importance of our climate, knowing the climate changes and the impacts, the effect and the causes. And maybe to add to what Eric said earlier, it's also deforestation. You see, when we cut down trees, that is like causing another climate change, because trees are source of source of rain, we always say like that. And also when we dump how do you call litters in they are accumulated in one place, they cause changes. Example is Dandora. You see that dump site at Dandora, it really affects them, because you see they don't receive rain, let me say it like that, and it's always like sunny, and the sun, it's like, you know, the stuff, so it's always affecting them there. So it's very important not to accumulate the same beans, dust, the hizo takataka zote. I'm looking for a good word, but it's not coming. Yeah, at the same place, because it's very harmful.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay, let me come to Namai. Let me ask him this question. Now, Namai, Sheila's mentioned something very good, something about the Dandora dumping site. Whose I don't want to say whose fault is it, but whose fault is it? As in, is it because you don't have a good place to dump our uchafu and all that? But why are we dumping it in Dandora, maybe? Or what do you think is happening?
Oh, thanks, Omar. Well, you see, Omar, everything starts small. I'm pretty sure that the dump site, I'm pretty sure the dump site there didn't start that large. It's just started by someone, one person dumping things there, and then like a whole family, and then a whole community, and then the whole place just started doing that. And then it will take a really long time to remove that, but I will encourage people not to throw things there, because the more you build up, the more it affects the climate, because there are also emissions there from the burning of the trash there, lack of a better word. Burning trash, there's also plastic in that trash, you know, and there's smoke all over, and the environment also becomes dirty. Yeah.
Okay, so basi, let's go to Brian. Brian has begged me to ask him the same question. I think akona answer. Brian, mbona tunatupa dump yetu kwa Dandora? Ama is it because you don't have a good place to throw a dump? Is it the government and ilisema let's use this place as a dumping site?
Yeah.
Are people living there illegally, maybe?
So first of all, I did not beg. Second of all, a bit of correction, you guys. The Dandora dumping site is actually an official dumping site. It was opened for the purpose of dumping garbage there. Because, I mean, you all have to understand, we do produce a lot of garbage and we have to take it to a place. So it was there, it was dug actually. It is supposed to be a hole, not a mountain. It was dug so that garbage can be dumped there.
And why are people living there?
You know, just listen for me. It's not the whole of Dandora. It's a small place called the Dandora dump site. It was actually opened, I think, in 2007 or something like that. I'm not sure, but I will confirm. But what happened is it was supposed to fill and it was supposed to be covered up and we can open another dump site later. That never happened. We can fault the government for that. I think the NMS actually started a project in around 2017 to try and relocate the dump site to somewhere else, but it did not happen. What I think we can fault the government on that, because I mean it is causing major problems in terms of health. It was not supposed to be like that. It was open to be a dump site, but it filled up long ago and it was supposed to be covered up so that we can move on to another dump site. And again, we have to understand that in Dandora, it's not just about the downside. We can acknowledge some other issues. Like, it's so rare to find a tree in Dandora. It is very rare. I mean, I do understand in terms of space, we can understand why they don't have trees, but there are other things we can do as well. You know, people think that it's all about planting trees. It's not just about planting trees. It's also about taking care of those trees. Trees have a natural ability to reproduce, you know. They actually have a natural ability to produce themselves into more trees. But if we don't enable that by taking care of the trees we already have, it's not going to happen. Not just in Dandora, even in our estates. I mean, if you have a backyard in your place, plant a tree. And you know, it doesn't have to be an unproductive tree. You can plant a fruit tree, which is also going to help you later, right? And there are other things we can do other than just plant trees, clean the environment. We can also start learning how to teach others on the importance of climate change. In your home, is your home climate friendly? Do you have 5 cars for 5 people each? I mean, people hate matatus, but I mean, they are useful, right? We want a better environment for ourselves. We don't want by 2027 to be getting out of our houses in boats because it is flooded everywhere. Yeah, I mean, we have to learn to take care of the earth better.
Sawa sawa, asante sana Brian for those inputs. Now, Namai, let's come to you. When tuko kuuliza, as a child advocate, what are you doing? Ama wewe unapandanga tu miti na unarudi chini.
So on the 200 million trees project, there's also the thing that you can add on. It's called, well, it's still in the planning phase, but it's called planting trees online. You actually get to, you asked Sheila if she knows of lands where you can plant trees.
You
she
can
said,
plant a tree online.
No, just listen first.
Actually, there is
you can't
something like that actually.
So you get a land, right? As I said, it's still in the planning phase. Let's say there's school. There's a huge space where you can plant trees, right? So you start an online campaign where you get people who can volunteer to plant these trees. They come and I call it plant for points. Okay. So the more trees you plant, the more points you get, and maybe you can partner up with a local supermarket or a place where you do your shopping, and then those points that you get for planting these trees, you can redeem them or use them at the supermarket to get goods. So it actually encourages people to plant more trees for more points. It's like a competition, but it's voluntary. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a good initiative to start. Have you started it yet?
As I said, it's still on the planning phase.
Still on the planning phase.
Yeah.
Unahitaji funds maybe.
Obviously, and also partnering with Brian on the 200 million.
Don't worry. If you're partnering with Brian and getting those funds, you'll go somewhere. Sindio? Let's come to Brian. Brian, now how can we advise now? Sasa tumeanza kufika kule mwisho. How can we advise now the NGOs, the government on how they can be able to conserve the environment and how we can stop climate? Are we supposed to stop climate change actually?
Well, it's too late to stop climate change, but we can stop. We can prevent further climate change.
Sasa tuambie government na NGOs wafanye aje?
Yes, I mean, to the government, if you don't want to plant trees, then don't. Support those who want to. Right? I mean, we have a lot of people out there who are willing to fight climate change, who are willing to plant trees, who are willing to clean the environment, who are willing to even invent electric cars, even cheaper things that can actually help combat the effects of climate change. Support them. You don't have to get your hands dirty. Just support them. That is to the government, right? To you at home, the families, the children. I mean, the small things do matter, okay? Picking up the plastics, putting them in the recycled bag. That karatasi ya mkate, it usually has something written at the bottom, return to shop for recycling. That the company does mean it. If you take it back, they will accept the papers, right? To the companies that sell those products, please follow up on the products you're giving out. Because, I mean, if you are delivering 1 ton of plastic per year, how many tons of plastic are you getting back? Make sure that you're getting at least 90% of that, to at least make sure that this garbage does not end up in a dumping site. It does not end up in a water source somewhere. It does not end up in the ground somewhere. Please make sure that you get that back. And to the teachers and students, you have playgrounds at school. Trees make playgrounds very beautiful. Trees make schools very beautiful. Kindly plant a tree. And it's not just planting. I mean, you can say that you planted. I mean, in our school, we had planted some trees, but I know right now they're dying. Because we planted them, we did not take care of them. teach your students to take care of trees. I mean, reward students with even something as simple as bread. The students will take it. Give each class a tree. When they're joining class 1 in primary schools, grade 1 that is, give them a tree, right? Say this is one north tree. When they're living at grade 6 and this tree is grown maturely and it is a fruit tree, I mean, you can be rewarding them in a way. Motivate students to plant trees. Motivate students to take care of the environment. Motivate people to see how they can make the earth a better place for all of us.
Asante sana Brian, very wise words. Those are some of those moments whereby we have Brian being wise and smart. Let's come to Sheila. Sheila,
yes.
What can you advise some of the students out there to do? I know the climate week imetupita, but what can you advise them to do to stop, not to stop, but to try and control climate change?
Okay, I think Brian has exhausted all the points, but what I can add to what he has said, it's not a must you plant a fruit tree that can benefit all of us, but planting trees is very important. You see, as much as that, you see, like, and then something else in our school, I think we have cypress or something. Only one type of tree. No, we don't focus on one type. You can plant any, hizo zote zenye tunajua, plant any. If you plant one today, ensure like you've planted one tree this month, next month what will you do? You at least not only planting trees, and ensure that your environment is not like fixed with, you see, there are these things tunatumia and then we just dispose them, like unakunywa juice and then unaeka kwa mchanga. You know, it's accumulating, and this acid is also harmful to the soil. As much as we are preserving and planting trees, please let's think about the soil yenye inamesha mti, sio? As much as tutaongea tusitupe takataka kwa mchanga, tusifanye nini, this is environment, and environment or climate is affected by soil, trees and the stuff. So pia soil is a very important fact. As much as, kwani mti tutapanda wapi? Kwa mchanga. Huu mchanga wafaa ulindwe, uhakikishe kuwa mchanga una asidi yoyote ambayo itafanya mti wenyewe usipande, usinenepe, badala yake uyeyuke na kuleta climate change. Okay, thank you so much. I think that is what I can say.
Asante sana Sheila. Let's come to Eric Namai. Eric, wise words from Sheila. What can you advise now some of a child who's listening to you back at home about preservation of the environment?
Basically, preservation of the environment is to lead to reducing, or rather preventing further climate change, right? So, as I would say, it's not necessarily about planting trees. There are other things you can do. There's preserving of light. Yeah. You know, there's preserving of water. Also, educating children on the importance of preserving the environment. Not littering all over, not just burning plastic. You can plant a tree. Yes, planting a tree, actually investing in trees is very important for the world, not just Kenya, for the world, because it has a lot of benefits. Places which have a lot of trees don't have drought, right? Yeah, and food shortage is a thing that's caused by drought, isn't it? Plant trees, embrace trees, not just the children, but the government. Invest in trees, because the more you invest in trees, or rather invest in green, the more you invest in people. You know, the more climate change doesn't spread or just doesn't go on. Yeah.
Asante sana. Namai, actually you have summed it up very well. I'd love to congratulate a few of the people who are trying, especially children out there who are trying, the likes of Greta Thunberg, Eliane Wanjiku, who are trying to plant trees, and they're trying to end climate change in the world. So keep the conversation flowing at our social media platforms at Mtoto News, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a website which you can visit to get all this amazing content at www.mtotonews.com. You can also find me at all social media platforms at Omar Hamed 83. But for now, I say goodbye.